Your SEO depends on your accessibility. You didn't even know it. So we're going to be talking about SEO and accessibility together. We're going to talk about why, I'm going to explain why SEO and accessibility are important and what SEO and accessibility have in common. That's kind of the key to this talk. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you some free tools and resources to help you. All right, what is accessibility? WCAG is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. These are basically the worldwide guidelines set forth for accessibility, for ADA. And they were worried about there being lots of fragmented rules and everybody kind of going by their own beat. So what they did is they came together and they created one group of rules. SEO, does anybody here know what SEO is? Are we all familiar with SEO? Okay, search engine optimization. It's the big player in that arena is Google. Everybody wants to be number one in Google for good reason. So your SEO, there's lots of different types of SEO. There's on page, off page, all kinds of other things. We're gonna pretty much just stay with on page SEO on this one because that's what links with accessibility. All right, a few facts. Over 1.3 billion people worldwide have some sort of disability. There's $490 billion in disposable income for working age people with disabilities. That's a big one. We don't want to harp on we're only doing this for money, but I'm trying to make everybody speak everybody's language, and everybody speaks money. So we got $8 trillion in income of friends and families of people with disability. And a big one for us was we met Matt Mullenweg a few years ago. And he's the head honcho of WordPress. I don't know how many people are familiar with him, but he had mentioned to us, which really was a big deal, that every single person in this room has been disabled and will be disabled again. Period. There's no getting around it. We were born disabled, we're going to end disabled, and we're probably going to break an arm, break a finger, do something throughout our life that makes us disabled. So we're not just doing it for everybody else, we're doing it for ourselves as well. Just remember that when you're doing your sites and you're trying to make it accessible, we're doing it for us. Now what I have here is a list of things that accessibility and SEO have in common. And I'm going to go through each one of these, and I'll explain each one of these. But you got page title tags, you got headings, you got descriptive anchors, alternative text, transcripts. You got all these things that really have to do with SEO, but most of us don't realize that they're your accessibility issues as well. If you can accomplish these things, your site, I would say, is in the top 80-90% of sites out in the world for accessibility. All right, title tags, number one. Title tags help people and screen readers. This allows the screen reader to tell the individual what that page is. Now, where you're going to get this for SEO, the benefits for SEO is that's what tells the Google bots what that page is about. If you're building tables and you want people to find your site for building tables, you're not going to put in there. You're not going to put for a page title landscape guy. Google will never make that connection. When people Google landscape, they're going to send your page. They're not going to send your page for what you want. So it's a very, very easy step, but it's hugely important. Another thing too is Google loves it when someone, we've all been to Google Search Console and you type in something and it gives you the top 10 websites that it thinks is most relevant to your search query. Well, if we click on something and then we don't click, if we click a link and go to that page and when we go right off that page because it has nothing to do with what we're looking for, or we don't interact with that page at all, that tells Google that the page they sent us to doesn't really match that search query. So you're gonna drop in rank. So you want to make sure your page title is very relevant to your page. So if someone sees that and they click to it, they're gonna find the information they're looking for. That's huge. All right, good header structure. You want it to follow, we got H1s, H2s. How many people here are familiar with your headers? H1s, H2s, H3s, okay, good. So basically, for SEO, and a mistake that we made early on, because Google likes H1 headers the best. I don't think it's so much that way. It's a big deal nowadays, but it used to be a big deal. So every couple of hundred words, we would stuff an H1 tag in there. That's terrible. It's terrible. But that's completely unacceptable for accessibility, and really Google doesn't like that anyways anymore. So what you want to do is your main H1 header is what you want to mirror your page title. You want your H1 header and your page title to really work well together. You want that to describe what that person's going to read through the page. And then all your H2s and H3s are your subsections. So Google likes good heading structure. So basically don't abuse the H1 tag, and then make sure all your headers in order, that it goes from H1. For instance, this would be my H1 header, this would be an H2 header, this is my content. And then this would be an H2 header, and here's my content. And then if I had subsections, I would have an H3 header with content. The only time that you're really allowed to swap it around is, we'd say that this is an H2 header content, and then we'll just say if this was my H3, this would be a subsection of this. If we want to go back to our main section, you can go back to an H2. I know that kind of sounds complicated, but it's very easy. Just remember H1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down.
So the first could be H2 and then H2 again?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. You just don't want to go H1, H2, H1, or H2, H3, H2. You want to keep it in semantic order. And what that does, that opens up the screen reader. Because remember, a blind individual is not using the typical method that we would use our mouse. They're using a tab button, and they're tabbing through it. So the screen reader knows to hit H1s first, hit H2s second, hit H3s third. So if they're in order, they'll be able to follow that website down. If they're not in order, they're going to be all over the place, and that's a fail. But Google likes good header structure as well. And remember too, we talk about page time on page. If you have good header structure, more than likely that individual is going to spend more time on your page, and Google likes that. They love that. That's one of their main metrics. All right, your anchor text. Your anchor text sets user expectations and improves page relevance. People using a screen reader often navigate a page skipping link to link. So you got a blind user per se on the website. A lot of times they'll set their screen reader up to kind of skip the content and just do links. So you want to make sure you have good descriptive links. You don't want click here's and read more's. And another reason, and the way that connects with SEO, is you're kind of losing your anchor text juice at that point, because if you just say click here or read more, Google's not combining that link with your content. It'd be better, I think I get into it a little bit more here. Yeah. So Google looks at the anchor text and links pointing to a page to know more about the content of that site. So Google uses that link text, and it's not important as it used to be, but if you're dealing with a lot, it's still relevant. And as we all know, in competition and business, every little bit helps. So here I got an example for you. For a bad example of a link description, click here, read more, like I said. For an example of a good link description, follow this link to John's Pool Cleaning Service. That's what you want. That tells Google this link is going to a pool cleaning service. You know what I mean? So when you're using click here or read more, you're not getting anything from that. You want to use your keywords as much as possible that make sense. And this absolutely makes sense. And with accessibility, this tells a blind individual, if your eyes are closed and you just scroll over, click here, read more, that's not telling you nothing. But if you hit this link, John's Pool Cleaning Service, you know that link's taking you to John's Pool Cleaning Service. All right, your alternative text. This is a big one, and this is, in my personal opinion, the unforgotten warrior for SEO. You got descriptive alt text provides an opportunity for context and keywords. Alternative text is used to add content to all your non-content items like images and unique infographics. SEO benefits. A third of all searches performed in Google are for images. Can't stress that enough. I do that all the time too. I'll Google something and I'll just click images. I'm not even interested in my 1 through 10. I want to see examples. For instance, I'm building a tool bench right now. I type in tool benches for my garage and I just go straight to images. I don't even bother with all that. 12.5% of SERPs show image pack results. On top of when you Google search something on the top, there's always that row of images at the top. So if you got good images that are labeled properly, Google's more than likely going to throw that on the top. We've got some websites that we do really well with that, with images and videos. We might not rank on there 1 through 10, but we'll get in that sidebar, that scroller on top of the first page. Big time. Yes?
Well, on the alt tags, okay, it's kind of, some say you do a underscore in between the words, or some people say you do a hyphen.
No, you just space. You don't have to
Just
do nothing.
space.
Just space.
Okay.
Yes. And you don't have to put in there, this is an image of, or anything like that. Just put a good descriptive. I'll get into it here in the next one. Google says this is straight from Google, they use alternative text along with computer vision algorithm and the contents of the page to understand the subject matter of that image. Now, anybody in SEO knows good unique images are super, super key. Google likes unique new stuff, and our images, we take our HD images and videos we take with our phones now, that's all unique info. You put that up there, Google's gonna love it, but you gotta tell Google what it is. You've gotta match what your text with that. So that's where the alternative text comes in. Give you an example, when you go in the back of your media, on the back of your site, you pull up a picture, and you can add alt text. I mean, again, like I told you, I shouldn't have a picture of a device, you should just say a device that allows you to see with your tongue. But if you don't want to add an alt text and this image doesn't give really any pertinent information, you can come down here and click this decorative button, and that tells the screen reader to skip right over. Don't even worry about it. But I highly suggest not doing that, because if you do that, this is a lost opportunity for SEO. Google loves this. It loves this. And like I said, I think this is the unforgotten warrior right here. This is a big, big deal. And then what you can do too is in the description. Google also uses the description. So whatever I write in the alt text, I'll copy paste that in the description. And so Google knows exactly what this picture is about. So if someone types in a device that allows you to see with your tongue, Google's probably going to throw this picture on the top page.
So I also noticed they're putting the underscore in the title. So is that important between the two words, or obviously?
Oh no,
this
this is just the name of the image. Really, that you can put your keywords in there too. And
now I'm talking about, now they're putting underscores, so when you upload the media, it automatically puts the underscore into the title and then does the all. Okay.
Yeah, automatically does all. You don't have to do none of that. Just the alt text. You add the alt text, copy paste, put it in the description. Not only are you helping hundreds of millions of people, you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
SEO. Yes.
Okay, so just to get into specifics here, this website pertains to a lighthouse. Is that correct?
Well, this is actually off of our website, so we're talking about it. This is one of the blog posts we have about when we went to the National Federation of the Blind. That's where we saw it. So that's just in one of our blog posts.
Okay, so for alt text, you're describing the image as a picture of a device that allows
You to see with your tongue.
alt text. That's the headset. It's on the mannequin.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's just describing what this image is.
So, as far as the detail, do I have to literally put a sentence, or like, say my website, I sell Coke and guns.
Mhm.
I got a picture of a gun. Do I just put AK-47, or do I have to put a picture of an AK-47 unloaded, like, you know what I mean?
Well, you don't have to add a picture of, because the screen will automatically do that, but the more detail you get, the better. Again, because it's more content for Google, it's gonna help you out, and it paints a clearer picture for the end user.
So you want to paint a clear
it's a
picture.
verbal,
Right.
it's a
What-
verbal description of what the picture.
Yes, what they say is typically you want 1 to 2 sentences, no more than 200 characters. Because you imagine if every picture had just a ton of stuff, you know what I mean?
And the string in alt text, can it be just words separated by commas, or do I need to write like out sentences as if I were talking to a person?
Yeah, you need to write out the sentences, don't just keyword stuff. Yeah, you wanna explain what it
It's
is.
gonna be stuff.
But by law, as long as you have AK-47, you're legal. You're just missing an opportunity.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I thought you said it, or I heard it somewhere, put a period at the end of your alt tag that tells the screen reader, okay, the sentence or whatever is over.
I don't know about that. I always add a period just because I'm just making a sentence. So
Okay.
I add all the normal stuff that you would add for a sentence. You know, I start with the capital, end with the period type of stuff.
Okay.
So that's just how I do. Remember, copy paste and put it in your description as well. All right, adding transcripts. Almost nobody does this, and this is a huge, huge benefit for anybody who's got a video. Anybody, no matter what it is. Add transcripts or closed captions to all videos with audio. Transcripts or subtitles are very useful for individuals who are deaf. This is a big one. Adding transcripts to your website improved organic search by over 6.5%. That's huge. Turning the audio into text creates more content for your keywords. If for instance, if this is going to be a video, and when I upload it to the Tampa WordPress site, I'm going to do the closed captions. And YouTube does that automatically. It's literally a button or two for me. And then, but the cool thing is you can take that transcript and use it as content, put it on the site. So I would have a video here, and you can put that transcript right underneath it. It makes perfect sense, gives you extra content. It's probably filled with keywords, and it's just so easy to do because you've got everything you need already.
Do you recommend that with the podcast, to put the transcript right under there?
I would. That's free
Possibly-
content.
Possibly in like a collapsible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you
Like,
should, you
right.
can make it collapse?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do anything.
So
you
it's
want.
very aesthetic pleasing. It doesn't like scare an individual, but Google is still getting it. Its bots are still hitting it. It's just extra content. It's free. It's there. So you don't have to sit there for an hour and do 1,000 words. Yes.
Okay, I have a page on somebody's site, it's a image, and it's got 3 columns, and it's full of text. There's a photo at the bottom of the first column, bottom of the second, and 3 photos. It's like a mess of an image, and all the text is in there, so I already typed out the text. How would I just put that on the page and then do a transcription underneath, or what? How would you handle that?
Like underneath the
It's a
video, or
graphic now.
well, you're just a graphic though, so you don't really need. Like that's more has to do with videos because you have the verbal, and then YouTube turns that into text, and then taking that and like he suggests under the video you just have one of those collapsible windows, and you can just put your text in there. So if someone wants to read it, they can. But really, it's about Google. It gives Google that much more content.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, so just kind of generally do it like that.
Right, but I think your situation is a little different because you just got an image, so there's not going to be a transcription really
Well,
of.
it's full of text, the image, that no one can read because it's in an
Oh, the image itself has text.
Yes.
That has to be in the alt text. It has to be by
All
law.
of that has to be.
Yes, if there's text on that image, it has to be in the alt text. So I would do that and put that in your description, and you'll get a little extra juice that way. But yeah, I mean that's a good idea too. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll just give you some extra SEO.
Well-
Put it in collapsible, so you're not taking up all this space. You know what I mean? But that has to be in your alt text. Your alt text. I believe. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so we post our YouTube videos on a blog post, and then on the blog post, all the transcript is written out on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So should we also put all that transcript into YouTube too to gain?
Might as well.
Okay.
Why not? I mean, I SEO the crap out of YouTube. I put my keywords, everything, links. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and I use YouTube more than I do Google.
Yeah.
So then with YouTube though, because I've seen different things on like the keywords, and like the first keywords really do better than the last ones.
You mean like the
and-
tags? You mean
I
the
guess that's
tags?
what I'm thinking of.
Uh-huh. I think they limit how many tags you can have now.
So what would be, I guess, the difference then between keywords and tags? Because I know you can do like hashtags.
Not a lot. I mean, they're pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
Your keywords should be your tags. And then in your video, you probably just naturally say your keywords. So Google does pick that up on the voice. We've seen stats on that. But then if you turn that into transcript, like you said, that's even more. So now you're like hitting it with a triple play. And Google doesn't look at it like you're overdoing. There is a limit where Google thinks you're just saturating
Yeah.
it, but that's not the case with this.
I guess that's where I'm kind of wondering is like, do you think that there is any limit that you should put on the keywords that you put in there? Or,
I mean, my personal opinion, they used to have a math equation where it was like you're allowed 6.8% or like 1.8% of your text to be your keywords that Google like, blah, blah, blah.
This needs to be natural, yeah.
I just say natural, make good content, use your headers properly, and it'll work. It'll flow. So,
Don't stuff it.
right.
Can I add a tidbit for YouTube? I learned, I don't know if you guys discuss this much, but for YouTube, they say when you upload your file, so whatever your file is named on your computer, make a bunch of keywords, the whole title of your own file. That'll help with the search.
Right. And make your file name a keyword.
Yeah, so the file name, actually, we label it the title of the video
Perfect.
as well. And then we put in
As
South
many-
Tampa Real Estate.
As many
as well.
keywords as it will allow you on the naming of
Yeah,
your
with the
file.
tags and stuff, absolutely, absolutely. And then add links to your site in there, do all that, because Google, I'm sure everybody knows Google owns YouTube, so it works real well together. Google likes that cross-platform stuff, so. All right, oh, here we go. Okay, so this is the CC right here. So when you add the video, you can go to the back end in your edit and just, it's been a while since I've done it. Just click, it'll allow you to choose a language. You'll hit like subtitle or closed caption. You choose a language, English, and then it'll automate it. It'll either automate it lets you manually do it, it'll play the video and open up a box and you manually do it. And you can also open it up to the front end to let anybody else manually type to it. I don't really suggest that one, but the automatic one so far is working fine. If your video is more than 4 or 5 minutes long, it might take a day to do it, but if it's less than a few minutes, within like an hour, it has your transcription, and then you can copy paste that. It's super easy. All right, sitemaps. I'm sure everybody knows about sitemaps for SEO. Create a sitemap and make sure to submit it to Google. Sitemaps allow people using screen readers to navigate a website easily. Your SEO benefits. Your XML sitemaps allow search engines to crawl and index a website sufficiently. I mean, it should be efficiently. The more pages that they index for you, the more trust your site gains, the more Google likes you. And having a sitemap allows Google's bots to do that much, much easier. And then what that also does is opens it up to an individual using a screen reader or something. It allows them to navigate your site very easily. So just remember, if you make it so the easier it is for a disabled individual to navigate your site and know what your site is about, the easier it is for Google to know what your site is about. And that's what this is all about, being number one. That's the difference between, success and not success in a lot of cases. Yes?
How do you build that into your website? Is that like a plugin or?
Well, I'm sure you can use a plugin. I use a program like DynoMapper. There's other programs out there. We got anybody dealt with?
XML-sitemaps.com is
Yoast.
what I use to generate.
Yoast allows you to do it. I think it's the paid version of Yoast. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's paid version.
It's part of the free one.
Oh,
It's
is it?
very easy to do, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yoast.
use a free service that scans.
Y'all love
everything.
Yoast. Ooh.
And then
Yeah,
I added
yeah.
it to my root directory.
Okay.
And then I submitted that to my Google Search Console.
That's all you gotta do and you're done. That's it, you're done. And you've not only have you helped a ton of people, you've made it much easier for Google to know what your site is about.
I actually just did that like 5 minutes ago. It took me like 2 seconds.
Wait a minute here, I was talking 5 minutes ago.
He was working.
Alright.
That was one of the last things I needed. It was in my to-do list, was actually to generate a sitemap. So
There you go. That should be, when you build a site, that's just part of your initial push. Hooking up your Google Search Console, doing your sitemap, that should just, be part of your production.
Joe, which do we say were the best programs to use for that?
Yoast and XML sitemap, I think he said.
I went to Google and just typed in I just typed in sitemap generator. in
Yeah,
Google.
okay, there you
And
go.
It gave me a website where I could type in my URL.
And that's if
and
you
it
use
generated
WordPress.
an
I'm
XML
assuming
file
that
for
we're
me.
using WordPress.
Right.
Free?
If you go on the back of Word, you're back into WordPress and your plugins. I don't know how familiar you are, but you just type in Yoast and it'll spit it out right there for you. You can download and activate it and play with it for free. So, okay, we're gonna talk about good contrast on here. Okay, when adding new content, make sure your contrast ratio is at least 4.5 to 1, with your text being at least 3 to 1. Your SEO benefits. Bad contrast will make a person leave your site much faster, and Google doesn't like that. Yes.
My question, okay, so where would we, is there something in like, Google DevTools that we can inspect, like contrast ratios? Like, how do we know if our stuff is a 4.51?
Right. There's plenty of free sites out there. We have a plugin out there that's completely free. We don't even ask for an email, and then it has a contrast checker in there, so you can go to the back end and check it. But I mean, there's just so many free sites. And Google DevTools does have that when you're in your
'Cause I think
inspect.
I've seen it.
They do. When you go down a little bit to accessibility, it's somewhere in there. Depends, like you use a Mac, so a little bit different. But contrast really has to do with on-page time. We all know that Google likes it when an individual's on your page for a long period of time. If someone's sitting there reading your site, if it interacts with the link, click something, Google loves that. That tells them that they did the right thing for sending them the user to your site for that keyword that they typed in. But if they go to your site and they go off real fast, that tells Google that was a bad idea. So even if your site has the most useful information to an individual, if it's got crappy contrast ratios, that person, like me, I'm just gonna leave the site. It gives me a headache. I mean, it gets all blurred. So I'm gonna do
That's your bounce rate, right?
That's your bounce rate, exactly. So this is an example of bad contrast. You guys can see now, if you imagine you had a whole page full of this, I mean, this would suck. I would be out of here within 10, 15 seconds. And we all know, we've all seen sites like this. Not so much these days, but, a few years ago, there was more than there should have been. This is good contrast. You can just tell, you can stare at this longer. You can engage with this. Yes?
Yeah, so my site is black text on yellow, so I'm pretty sure I'm good.
Oh yeah, you should be good. So you can just see the difference. If your site's filled with this, you're much more likely to have the user stay on your site longer. They can deal with that better.
Has anybody ever
You don't want
rated?
light gray text on
What do you
gray
mean?
background.
Well, this is best contrast and decreasing value to the person's ability to visualize it.
Yeah, well, 4.5 to 1 is the minimum. That's the minimum. That's your legal requirements. That's like the minimum. So we shoot for more than that. You don't really want to be on that line, if that's what you mean. Like black on white text, that's the best. That you got the best contrast ratio you can with that one, and then you start having gray text on white, goes down, those types of things. So.
And I'm sorry, where did you say where you could do that test?
Well, I can't think of the website right now, but at the very end I give you one. But we do have a plugin out there. So if you go to the back end of your site and you go to our plugin, I think it's I'll show you. I can't think of it. What's our plugin? Alt text, missing alt text finder.
It's a long one.
Yeah, it's a long one. I give it to you. I'll give it to you.
So-
Yoast will tell you that too.
It's a plugin that does lots of things for accessibility. One of them is a contrast tester.
Okay.
Contrast checker, yeah. So yes,
WP Accessibility Tools and Missing Alt Text Finder.
yeah. WP accessibility tool. Yes.
Well, since you've made me aware of the contrast thing, there was a business a couple blocks from here. Their sign is the color of that turquoisey blue, second from the bottom, with white text.
Oh.
With white text.
You
Yeah,
can't
that's
even
terrible.
read it. You can't even, not even see it.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
not even think about accessibility. Think about that as you're not reaching your customers like you should. People in their mind, they probably just scan right over that. It doesn't stand out in any way. You're losing
like,
business.
what kind of business
So
is this?
it makes business sense and it makes good practice sense. Okay, we're gonna talk about text size and spacing on this one. This has to do with your on-page time as well. Make sure your font size is at least 16 and is spaced 2% between paragraphs and 1.5% between lines. It's gonna be here for a minute. And also too, if you guys miss anything, within a week I'll have this up on YouTube. You'll be able to go to the Tampa WordPress site and rewatch the whole thing. But you can see, and this has to do with on-page time. If an individual is on that page for a long time, Google says that's good. If they're on and off, your bounce rate is just ridiculous. Google says that's bad. So if you go to a page with a whole bunch of this text, I mean, it's not real bad, but it creates more, it's shown to create more fatigue with your eyes. Then you come down here, this is just easier to read. It's easier for your brain to consume, you'll stay on just better. So you're helping hundreds of millions of people and you're getting these SEO benefits. And remember, your competition more than likely isn't looking at these kind of things. So you're gaining that competitive edge.
So this is just general typography tips?
Yes, just this one, yes. And it has to do with SEO, you know, your on time, your on page time. Keep your users on there. All right, this is probably one of the easiest ones. Remove your broken links. The most common cause of broken links, you know, very simple stuff. Making a typo when you created a link, deleting an image, video, a file, or a page, and forgetting that you're linked somewhere, renaming or moving a page. I mean, unfortunately, I've done that more than once, renamed or moved something because I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is a better keyword for this page, and then I forget I've got it linked somewhere else, so now that's a broken link. Linking the content like images and videos that have been deleted, changing domain names and moving the site to a new URL. Very simple process to fix them. Delete them. You know, you take your mouse, you highlight it, and you hit delete. And there are also plugins in their software that will scan your site, scan each page, or scan your whole site, and it'll show all your broken links. And then you can just go through and delete those. And there's plenty of free stuff that does that as well. And that, you know, that's really good for an individual who's blind trying to navigate your site. Imagine just being filled with bad links. It's terrible. Same with Google. I mean, if there's a bunch of bad links, you're probably going to get like the email we were talking about earlier saying, hey, you've got these, you know, these dead links. You're going to have to fix them, all these broken links and stuff. That's
Or maybe going to a website that used to be one thing and now it's something really bad.
completely different, right?
Yeah.
Or you go to, you know, you see something
So
you're
now
interested in,
you're-
you click the link and
now you got a
it just
toxic
doesn't
link
do nothing. Yeah.
on top of that. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's just so, you know, just basic upkeep for your links. Very simple thing to do. All right, what I'm going to do here is, this could be a whole, it is actually a whole talk by itself, but I'm going to put this up here to just give everybody a quick overview for accessibility. This would be a good one for you. This is our simple 1 through 11 steps. Very easy. Provide alternative text. We've talked about that. Label all form elements and input fields. Very simple process. Add closed captions to videos. We talked about that. Ensure your color contrast meets minimum thresholds. We talked about that. Make your link text descriptive. We covered that. Do not use color as the only indication of meaning. That's a pretty simple one. Or if you go to an input form or anything where anything that's, I don't have any examples here for you. But if you have like an input form that says required fields are in red, you don't want that. You want to be required fields are in red and marked with an asterisk. So when an individual goes with their screen reader, it tells them, you know, name, email, asterisk, so you know that's the one you need to have. Your font size, we covered that. Input errors by the user. That's in case someone, you go to an input, this has to do with like the pop-up. If someone goes to your site and they pop up and they say you want the email address and they don't hit the proper email, you know, they don't put the gmail.com or the .com, you want something to spit up that's saying that, you know, this is what you want to do. You just don't want it to say error. You should be able to navigate your whole site using only your keyboard. Use flexible time limits. So again, this has to do with like your pop-up. If you pop up and they can't manage your pop-up, you don't want it to time out. A lot of sites time out, so don't put time limits on it and stuff. And provide skip links for navigation. We talked about that. Yes.
As far as like input errors, is there WordPress plugins that they can use for form validation? Is that what, because like input errors, like that's the way to check if somebody is not.
Didn't put in a proper email or something.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I know, like, I like Contact Form 7.
Yeah, probably has it built in.
It usually has it built in, correct?
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Right, yeah, they do good things and not good things.
Yeah.
We got an individual that does, what's the other, Contact Form 7, the other one?
MailChimp.
Travis, Gravity Forms is a good one. Gravity Forms is better for accessibility because they have a lot more plugins that deal specifically with Gravity Forms.
Unless you want to harvest emails, then MailChimp is a good one.
Right, that's a pain in the butt. Okay, this is gonna be some tools for you. All of these are free, and these are our testing tools. All right, we use Axe Chrome. That tends to be the best one for me because they give you the least amount of false positives. They actually have a new one out, so get the newer one. It's better. You got Wave. You can just go right to their Wave webaim.org, and that's another good one. Gives you some nice easy ones. Google Lighthouse is a great one.
That's the one that I use.
If you're using Chrome developed tools,
Yeah,
Google Lighthouse.
It says 100, but it gives me a list of manual things I need to go through.
Exactly. That's where there's two parts to Google Lighthouse that's good. One, it gives you a score, which you can send it to your client and be like, hey, look, you got 100. It's not accurate though, because if you can Google the most inaccessible website that scores 100 on Google Lighthouse, and it's the ugliest, worst site, but it still scores 100.
Yeah.
But what Google Lighthouse does that's really good is it gives you that manual testing process. I think it's 12 steps or 11 steps.
It just gave me a list of steps to go through.
Manually, that's huge. That's huge. That's a big deal. Add that to, you can do all of what we do is, what I do when I'm testing the site, I'll start with Axe Chrome, I'll do Wave, then I'll do Lighthouse. And then once I've caught all the easy stuff.
Now, Axe Chrome, is that a Chrome plugin or?
Yes. Yeah, it's I think it's also for Firefox or Safari.
Yeah, I use both.
So it's, you can put it in your browser.
Grid tools.
Yeah. And then you just inspect and it's right there. It's a great tool. And it points out exactly, it tells you what your problem is, it shows you the code, where the problem is in the code, and it points to it on the website. It highlights it, so you can scroll down on your page and you'll see what they're talking about. Contrast ratio checker. You can go to just this website, contrastratio.com, and it'll allow you to put in your contrast ratios and tell you whether you're good or not. All of these are completely free. That's the easiest way to do it. We added this format to our plugin, so you can put our plugin in and that's in there as well. This is our actual plugin, WordPress Accessibility Tool and Alt Text Finder. This plugin's got a bunch of things. The most important thing is, and this has to do with SEO as well, it brings up all of your missing alt text and puts it in one area for you. Because if you don't have this, you gotta go to your media file, look at all your pictures to see if you have it or not. And then remember, you gotta go to your front end now too and check as well. Because even if you update that alt text in your media file, they generally don't push it to the front of your site. So if you already have that image on the front of your site, you gotta do it twice now, you gotta find it. And you can imagine on the larger sites, it's a major pain in the butt. This plugin is very useful. It puts all your images right there, and it allows you to add, it shows you on the top either your what's missing your alt text, what's missing your description, or what's missing a caption. And then you can put that in there, hit submit or save, and it pushes to the front of your site as well. So it's nice. It also does, we also put a testing software in there that's not on here. It's the totally testing software from the Khan University. That's another great testing tool. We have the contrast ratio checker in there, and then I also added WCAG 2.1 checklist. I took the actual WCAG 2.1 checklist from W3C, and I just kind of made them in layman terms and made an interactive checklist with it. So if your dev team just go through and check each one of those on the back, you know what you're complying on and what you're not complying on. So everybody's working on the same thing as opposed to people doing different stuff. So it's very useful. All right, accessibility tools. We got userway.org. If you don't do anything for accessibility, do this. You can download this plugin, and I think they just ask for your email. This puts a little icon down here at the bottom. It allows the end user to click that, opens up, and you go to our website and see it, stpetedesign.com, and it allows them to increase font size, change contrast ratio, desaturate, just highlight all the links, allows them to do all kinds of stuff. So you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it yourself. You can add this plugin and it fixes a lot of stuff for you. You got the accessibility statement generator. This would be the second most important thing I suggest for your accessibility. And there's a lot of accessibility statement generators out there. This one is from the W3C, the actual people who made the guidelines. So this is the top of the line stuff here. And it's completely free. And you go there and it just asks you a series of questions. Take you about 15 minutes, you fill it out, it spits you out a PDF. You can either copy paste that, add it to a page, or you can just link it somewhere. Yes?
And like I noticed that you're like the Chrome Box tool, like a screen reader. Would it be like a good practice, like say if I was like building a website, to actually try to navigate my website blind? You
I
know,
say yes, 100%.
to like, you know, I mean, I could just take my I do that, or like cover your
Right.
eyes and try to tab through your website
Yes.
and see, you know, how
Yes,
how it
absolutely. I would use NVDA, that's free, well, you're a Windows user, so,
I'm a Mac user.
I mean, Mac user, Mac has its own voiceover IP.
VoiceOver,
Yeah,
yeah,
voiceover,
VoiceOver.
so use that, I believe it's free for Mac.
Yeah.
But I would definitely do those two things, like you said, tab over, and then make sure your volume's on, and make sure that it's announcing properly when you land on one of your ARIA labels, or when you land on something.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. Not only are you helping hundreds of millions of people, that's helping Google. That's, all these things are help your SEO. That means Google can reach that content that much easier. For Windows users, I would suggest NVDA. It's very, very easy. You just download it. I personally, a little trick for me is I don't accept any of the permissions. I just downloaded it. So when I want to use it, I open it up, it starts, and when I don't want to use it, I just go to the window and just hit no, and it shuts it all down. It works a lot better than trying to find the off button. You got Chrome Box, which is another good one, and NVDA is better, but you know, if you're not a Windows user, this works well as well. So, and all of these are completely free, and I would highly suggest you go into YouTube and Googling an example of someone using a screen reader. It's even faster than like an auction house guy would be talking. It's amazing. Yes?
Okay, the accessibility generator
Mhm.
makes a PDF. How is that accessible? How is a PDF going to be accessible?
Oh, PDFs are accessible as long as you make them properly. But what I would suggest doing is it gives it lays it out to you. Like once you fill it all out, it gives it to you in a page, all your content. You can just copy paste that and just create a new page on your website for accessibility statement, and then link that in your footer or something.
Okay.
And then just copy paste that, put it in there. That's kind of the easier way to do it.
Okay.
All right, these are resources for you. The actual WCAG guidelines, like I said, are from the W3C, w3.org. This is just the DOJ withdrawing their recommendations for accessibility. This is a list of lawsuits in the first 2 months of 2018. That's hundreds and hundreds. It's crazy. An article about the over 2,000 lawsuits in the first part of 2019. Comparison table with the Section 508. WordPress accessibility info. You actually get a bunch of great information from this. This is the actual law put in place by the government, the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience. Web accessibility, this is a great one. This is a great resource. Web accessibility law by state. You go here, and then it gives you a map of the US. You click Florida, and it gives you all of the special, unique laws that have to do with Florida. It's very useful. When I travel around the US giving talks, I like to add a little page or two specifically for that state I'm talking to. Tax form for accessibility, you actually get back up to $5,000 of $10,000 spent, 50 cents on every dollar, up to 10 grand that you spend on accessibility. You get that back. That's a big deal.
So what does it mean spending on accessibility?
Well, if you spend $1,000, if you hire me to do your accessibility and you spend $1,000 on it, you can fill this form out and you'll get, your $500 worth
Well,
of.
what about the fact that I'm a web developer myself, and the time that I've spent making websites for my clients accessible? Is that a tax credit that I could possibly get?
For yourself?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an accountant, so I'm not sure on that. But, I would tell them that they can claim it for sure, and then that justifies your cost. Because quite frankly, if you know about it,
I see that the business can claim it.
Yes.
And if they spend money hiring me.
yes, so you can
Okay.
justify the cost of spending
I
on
see.
you
I see.
to do that.
So we can claim 50%.
Yeah, if you spend up to 10,000, you can claim up to 50% of that. There are some caveats. I think your business has to do under $1 million. I think you have to have under 26 employees or something like that.
She definitely covers for that. But
Yeah. And then also too, you have to pay taxes. They don't send you a check.
Yeah.
It's if you pay $1,000, you can take. You ain't gonna
Yeah.
get money
No, I understand.
per se, but yeah, absolutely. And I like to use that because, like I said, it justifies the cost of spending on me to help you out. Yes.
Do you have to be a nonprofit to get the 50%?
No.
It can be anybody. if
Yes, as long as you're under $1 million, your revenue, total revenue,
For
and under
this
like
year,
26
sure.
employees. Yes. So, and I'm sure there's loopholes and stuff, but I'm
There's
not an
tons.
accountant. I'm just,
There's tons.
it's taxes, you know.
There's tons.
So, that pretty much brings us to the end. We have any questions about, SEO or accessibility or life in general?
Title, you were talking about the title tags, what are you referring to? You're not
Like
talking
page
about-
titles, page titles.
Like the H1?
No, no,
The
but-
URL?
But if you like inspect your whole page, usually at the very top, you'll have your page
In
title.
WordPress, where do you put, where?
Yeah,
refer to-
usually it's like, you know, when you create a new page, that first line,
Oh,
that
yeah,
creates your
H1.
URL, yeah,
Yeah.
that's your page title pretty
That's
much.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Now, I've had websites that don't want that in there because they don't like how, you know, it looked, they made it look, because if you use some page builders, when you put that tag in there, there's no changing it. Like, they stick that where they wanna stick it, and you're done with that. So, you know, I have seen companies that just say, do away with that, just don't use it because it doesn't look good. Well, you gotta have a page title.
Yeah.
You gotta have a page title, so.
Okay.
You got any other questions?
All these slides, with the links, so it would be difficult for me to just like photos,
Mhm.
this is gonna be available where?
It should, within a week or so, it'll be on the YouTube channel. I think it's Tampa Bay WordPress, or WordPress Tampa.
Tampa Bay WP,
Well, I sent you a
Tampa Bay
message through the meetup.
WP.org.
Okay, I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link. And then we have our website too that has a bunch of talks on it. And I don't know if this one's up there or not. One of the newer ones.
And
So,
your St. Pete design.
yeah, yep, there it is, stpeakdesign.com. And then we have a whole bunch of videos. There's a whole page of just a bunch of videos on it. So I know I didn't articulate this talk that well. I know we got questions. Nothing? Yeah, maybe it was that good.
AMP.
No?
Are y'all doing anything with
I didn't
AMP?
understand the word you said.
Accelerated mobile pages?
I'm not personally, I know what you're talking about. I know they're kind
I
of.
mean, do y'all have anybody there? I'm looking for somebody that knows AMP and knows it inside out.
Yeah, we got guys that work on AM, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And y'all do it in-house?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a
I'm not a developer, so, you know, I would just.
Right, yeah.
Send that through the pipeline.
Well, that affects your SEO big time, so yeah,
Yes,
you need to
because
be,
especially
you need
with
to be
mobile,
catch up
everything's
on
going
it,
mobile
yeah.
nowadays, and if.
I just plugged it into 2 sites and both of them are just kind of slowly going backwards. I'm
Right.
like, whoa.
Google
what's
likes
up?
the fast ones. If all things are equal, they'll put the
Yeah.
fast one on top. All things being equal.
Yeah, yeah. So,
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you so much.